All right, so I'm back. I got another 100 and so miles down the road. I'm in Ponca City, Oklahoma right now. And it's been raining off and on a little bit. So hopefully the windshield's pretty clean. I don't know for sure, but I think it is. I don't see anything over there. I hope there's no bug splatters like the one that I had all the way from South Carolina back to like Arkansas that I didn't really know was there. Somewhere down in this region, I saw fuel yesterday for like 320 something or less, 319 maybe. I forget how low it was, but it was pretty low. If I can find that and I can fit in there with this trailer on, I'm going to stop and top off my fuel. Otherwise, I probably won't bother because I've got enough fuel in here to get home. Just would be nice to get it cheap if I can, you know, that kind of a deal. So I don't really have to make any other stops before I get home. I just have to get home. And I'm going to stay on 177 and just run it straight down, same way I came up yesterday, because I'm not getting on Interstate 35, even though that's what my GPS would like me to do. I'm kind of in control. It's not. It doesn't like it, but, you know, too bad. So I just had a little bit of a break back at Newkirk and got a cup of coffee, which I don't buy regular coffee very often, but this weather is really making me feel tired. Really giving me a bad case of the yawns. So I got some like kind of half butter pecan cappuccino, half real coffee. Hopefully give myself a little jolt. Not too much. I don't want to get too much going on. That's not good for me either. These tanker guys, man, when they go around, I just let them go because they're in a big freaking hurry. They must have them on super tight schedules. So they get pretty aggressive. So I just try and stay out of their way. I get it, you know, some of these trucking companies, depending on what you're hauling, some of them are kind of brutal. You know, they give you a schedule and you have to race every minute just to make it, you know, just to get the minimum requirements done. Luckily, my job isn't that way because I'm kind of my own boss, more or less. True, I've got a broker, but I decide when and where and all that. Or when and how. I mean, they tell me where, but I decide when and how. And it's at my discretion. So I don't really have that kind of pressure. The pressure I have is pressure I put on myself, so. But I'm a pretty laid-back boss, if I say so myself. Most of the time. I wasn't last year. Last year I was a slave driver. But this year I'm being super laid back and very undemanding. I had a evaluation as a boss, and I was told by my one employee that I was being too strict and too demanding. So I've had to reassess my supervisory methods. This is still Ponca City. This is a long town. You know, it takes a while to get through here. And I cannot remember exactly where that cheap diesel was I saw yesterday. All I know is it's down in this stretch somewhere. somewhere between here and Shawnee, maybe, or it might have been in Shawnee, but, or it might have been in Stillwater. I don't remember. So I guess that tanker guy's a lot slower getting going than I thought he would be. So I'm not too worried about this. He can get around me when he needs to. He's quite a bit back behind me now. He's having some slow starts from the stop signs. Some trucks accelerate faster than others, and that's a slow one. He must have a pretty good load on. Well, I've managed to hit most of the stoplights in this town red. Most of them. I think I got through one or two. Okay, finally getting out of town. That's good. Yet another stoplight. Wonder what he's hauling. Out of Iowa. No hazmat stickers on his truck. What could that be? next town of any size is going to be Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is the home of OSU, Oklahoma State University. It's still a torn up mess. They've been doing road construction in there for the last year at least. More than that, probably. One of those perpetual road construction zones. So I guess it's raining in Marlow right now. It's raining pretty hard. Bill went to put up the chickens. He had turned the big chickens out. Let the little chickens out into the chicken run. So he had to go put the little chickens back in the coop and open up the run so the other chickens could get in out of the rain. It's always some kind of livestock management at our place. It's either chickens, cats, or dogs. Not that cats or dogs are considered livestock, but when you got as many of them as we do, they probably should be. Kind of cool. It looks like the Ponca tribe has some infrastructure over there. White Eagle Health Center. This is kind of nice. When I get home, I'll be able to check my eBay stuff. Maybe get a little bit more work done on that today. Then get to bed early and get up early and go get this thing delivered, and then come back and work on that more this weekend. But there's some fun stuff I want to do this weekend too, which is metal detecting. And this rain is perfect. I'm glad that it's raining, because I mean, I'd just as soon go metal detecting in the rain. I mean, I won't melt. I've tested it. It's true. Whatever you may hear otherwise, I don't melt in the rain. But I've got 3 sites I want to do, and 2 of them are public sites that I need to do Sunday. And if it's in the rain, it's even better, because people will leave me alone if it's raining. And I already told Bill I want to do this, so that's probably what we're going to do at least one day, which would be Sunday. So what they did is in Marlow at the post office, the corner lot that our post office is built on, before it was a post office, it was the town grandstand. So they had a grandstand for a band, and that was where they would have town events. And they built the post office there in 1940. And I've metal detected that lot before a couple of times, but there were a couple of old trees kind of blocking most of the place that I was trying to metal detect. They were taking up a lot of the lot, so they checked those trees out last week, or sometime anyway. I noticed they were gone last week. So that's one of the places I'm going to do Sunday. I'm definitely going to go out and metal detect that, because it's right close to home. The other place is a place out past Bray that I showed you when I was coming up here. I want to go do that. Shouldn't take very long. I mean, either I'll get some good signals or I won't. And you can usually figure it out pretty quickly. You know, either you're going to dig up a bunch of crap, or you're going to get some good pure signals and dig up some silver. And silver is what I'm after, silver and gold. I mean, I'm not out there trying to dig up aluminum cans or bottle caps or pull tabs, I guarantee you, but I'm trying to find old silver coins and any kind of gold or any kind of silver. Coins, jewelry, whatever. So I want to do those. And then there's another site up in Chickasha that Bill wants to metal detect. And this is the first time he's wanted to go metal detect something in a few years. So I'm really tickled that he feels good enough to do that. So we're going to go do that also. So there's 3 sites. And that'll be a full day of metal detecting. That, you know, between the 3, getting up to Chickasha for the other one. But the post office and the one in Chickasha are ones we would do on a Sunday, because most likely there won't be as many people around trying to, you know, get all involved in what we're doing. Some people take it personally when they see you out metal detecting on public ground. They don't like it. They don't have any reason not to like it, and it's not illegal. And, you know, it's perfectly legitimate to do as long as you're not running around digging big-ass holes and leaving them uncovered. If you have to dig something up, you just fill the hole back in and smooth it out and make it look nice, you know. Or if you're in grass, you can cut a plug, flip it open, take out the item, and flip it back closed. You can't even tell that somebody's been there when you get good at cutting plugs in grass. So there's really no reason for anybody to complain about it, but some people take it upon themselves to complain about every damn thing, and those are the kind of people we'd like to avoid. So Sunday's a better day for it, and if it's raining, so much the better. If it's raining, probably nobody will bother us. It's usually a given. If it's raining, people will just leave you alone. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And the rain before then is good, because that preps the ground to give us better signals. You get better signals out of dirt that's been moistened than you do out of really dry dirt. So, and I'm not sure what all the physics is behind that. Bill could explain it to you, but I can't. All I know is once it's rained and I get my metal detector out, I get a lot better signals, and I can detect things deeper. Okay, this guy's going really super freaking slow. There's always one of these along the road somewhere. Hopefully he's just going out here to the casino. He's got a Kansas plate, so maybe he drove down here especially for that. Who knows? That's unusual to see somebody from Kansas drive that slow, because they usually drive faster than anybody else. Well, he's picking up the pace a little bit now, so maybe he'll just keep going. But anyway, I'm sure you guys that understand the physics of it know what I'm talking about. I guess it's got something to do with moisture in the ground and conductivity. The conductivity of the metal and the detector and all that, somehow. All I know is it works. You know, it makes my signaling better when the ground's got some moisture to it. And I mean, it's not really fun to detect in super wet ground, like sloppy wet, but the signals are good. So, you know, it's not any fun digging in just gloppy mud. Try to avoid that. But if it's raining a little bit, and we've had a good rain in the past couple of days, it makes for a lot better metal detecting, in my opinion. Okay, now we're slowing down again. Why are we slowing down again? I don't know what this person is doing. I don't understand this. I think he's one of those guys that's going to speed up when I get to a place where I could potentially pass him, and he's going to slow down again when I'm in an area that I can't pass him. That's what it seems like. Doesn't matter because I'm stuck behind him right now. This is all no passing through here, so I guess I'm just kind of foobarred. Unless he lights a fire under it, gets moving. Well, maybe this is a passing zone. I guess it is. I'm going to take him. He's not concerned about his speed, which means he's not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry, but I want to run the speed limit. I've got quite a ways to go yet. I got 3 hours to go yet. So that was cool, though. He did not speed up when I went to pass him. He held his slower speed and let me get on around him, which I really appreciate, actually. You've heard me bitch about people speeding up on me when I'm trying to pass them 100 times, I'm sure. But he did not do that. He held his own speed, and it gave me plenty of room to get around him without getting too crazy with it. So, yay. Thank you, guy. So the highway I'm traveling on is US 177. And 177 runs all the way back up to Manhattan where I was at. I had to leave 177 and go up on 77 for the last, 40, 50 miles because 177 over south of Manhattan is closed for construction. Some kind of construction in there. But this is actually a really good route to run. It's not truck heavy, and it's not cop heavy, and it's mostly good road. I mean, it's not all 4-lane, but it's mostly good road. There are a few patches that aren't so great, but for the most part, it's good. And there are plenty of services along this whole route. So, if I need a motel or I need fuel or I need to get something to drink or whatever, there are ample opportunities for all of that. As long as I stay aware of where the motels are, like when I'm going up in the evening. The motel I stayed at last night is the last motel between where I stopped at in Junction City. There are several motels in Junction City, but they're all expensive. I mean, comparatively. The place I stayed last night is $70. So, and it was clean and nice. So, I've stayed there twice now. I stayed there once last winter. And then last night, of course. I'm doing really well on fuel with this trailer. It's not windy out, so wind is the biggest factor in crappy fuel mileage. That's the biggest factor. That's even more of a factor than weight, I think. With the stuff I haul anyway, because I don't haul anything that's all that heavy. I mean, the most I'm going to haul is maybe, 15, 16,000 pounds max. And 14,000 with the Ford. So the biggest factor for my fuel consumption is wind. And I started out with a headwind, but that kind of dissipated, and now these storms are going through. So they're kind of moving off to the east. But there's not much wind, so I'm getting almost 11 and a half miles to the gallon pulling this trailer. It's not a tiny trailer. I mean, it's a 3-horse slant with a tack room. It's a pretty good sized trailer. So I'm pretty impressed. I'm getting much better fuel mileage hauling this than I got last week hauling a little bumper pull cargo trailer. That one hurt me on fuel mileage. The wind was not in my favor. And I think I was getting like 8 or 9 miles to the gallon pulling it. So, and it was a 2,200 pound trailer. This one is probably a, 55 or 6,500 pound trailer. I would say 55 maybe, 5,500. But it's pulling great. Not giving me any trouble. And because there's little to no wind, getting great fuel mileage pulling it. Anything over 10 miles to the gallon pulling a trailer is pretty good. I mean, really, For this kind of vehicle. If I was in a semi and I was getting 10 miles to the gallon, I'd be ecstatic, because I think 5 or 6 is normal for the semi. And I'm not kidding, 5 or 6 miles to the gallon. So, But for this kind of vehicle, 11's pretty dang good. Pretty good, almost 12. I don't know if this is like a fire observation tower or something. It's got that look to it, doesn't it? It's got like the observation deck up on top. I'd hate to have to climb up there to it though. It's got a little squinchy ladder, but you got to go all the way up. I don't think I'd care for that too awful much. I'm not crazy about climbing up on my step ladder to get up and work on the truck. So, I'm not afraid of heights like I was when I was younger. I was afraid of heights, and I got over that because I worked in nuclear power plants and I had to walk on scaffolding and stuff and climb scaffolding. So I was doing as-built drafting, but I had to go out and measure the lines. So, and then I also did hydro and pneumatic instrumentation line testing. And when you do that, you have to follow the line and spray soapy stuff on it to make sure it's not leaking anywhere. So you have to learn to ignore the heights and climb scaffolding and walk pipe and stuff like that to do that job. So I got over being afraid of heights. I just don't like climbing ladders because it's hard work. And I'm lazy and I'm a klutz. So those 3 things are, those have more to do with it than the height. Because obviously a step ladder is not that high, you know, a couple steps up. I'm thinking we're going to get into some more rain down here. It kind of cleared off up here, off to the east, but down south of me it's getting a little darker. I know it's raining in Marlow right now, so, from what I was hearing on the weather earlier, it's supposed to rain pretty much all afternoon in this region, from Oklahoma to Arkansas to Kansas, parts of Texas. So it's like a big blob. We got a big rain blob. So I'm pretty sure I'll run into more rain before it's over with. Black Bear Creek. So that's something you don't see in Oklahoma very often, is bears, but I'm sure that they see plenty of them down in the southeast corner in the mountains. That's bear country, and this is something that I wonder about. All this stuff about Sasquatch and Yetis and, you know, Bigfoot and all that. The only places that you hear reports of those kind of critters being seen by people is where there is already a native population of bears. So, you know, go figure that one out. Some people believe in Sasquatch like people believe in the tooth fairy. You know, I believe Sasquatch is real. Well, I don't believe Sasquatch is real. I think that people are seeing bears. Bears stand up and walk on their back legs. That's something that all bears do from time to time. I mean, if you don't believe me, go watch old movie clips of circus bears and just all kinds of stuff. You know, there are so many reasons not to believe that this is an ape-like creature that people are seeing, but primarily because they're seeing it in where there's already an established bear population. So we already know there's an animal there that kind of fits the bill. And people are notorious for not noticing specific details. You know, they get a glimpse of something, they're not going to get the total read like if they really saw it up close and, you know, got a really good look at it. So, you know, what they see may not be what they think it is. And I just, you know, there's no evidence. If there were actually ape-like creatures in our wooded areas, anywhere from Washington State, clear over into Kentucky, down into Oklahoma, eastern Texas, all the places people have seen these things that they say are apes, somebody would have come across a carcass at some point already. It would have already happened, because they don't live forever if they're there, and their carcasses don't just up and disappear, right? I mean, I guess you could argue that in some areas, something might come in and feed on the carcass, but it's going to take a little bit of time for that to disappear, and they're not going to eat every trace of it, you know. So that doesn't make any sense to me. And with all of the samples of hair and stuff that people have taken to labs trying to prove that they exist through DNA, most of them are bear and dog hair. That's what they turn out to be genetically when they're tested. So nobody's ever found primate hair in the woods in North America of all the stuff they take in and test. So there's just no evidence for it. So I think that they're just seeing bears. You know, a lot of people aren't used to seeing a bear stand up, but bears do stand up. And if you look at trees out in the woods where there are bears, you'll see where they stood up and they stretch up and claw the tree. You know, they mark the trees. So it's not unusual for a bear to walk around standing up. It's just not. They stand up to reach stuff, or they stand up just because they feel like standing up. Who knows why they do what they do. I don't even know where I was going with this or how I started on this topic. What was I talking about? Dang it. Entirely lost my original train of thought. I have no idea. No clue. But there are some people who believe, like, you know, they have faith that these things are real. Well, you know, I'm not just going to blindly believe it because, you know, there are eyewitnesses to it, because eyewitnesses are notoriously poor sources of information, actually. It's kind of weird because as much stock as we put on eyewitnesses, like in a criminal case or whatever, so many eyewitnesses have turned out to be terrible eyewitnesses, historically speaking, that a lot of innocent people have gone to prison based on the testimony of a terrible eyewitness. You know, it's really something. It's one of the things when I was a cop, I didn't put all of my weight on a witness statement because, you know, I already understood that people don't intentionally misinterpret what they're seeing, but they try to find some pattern to it and assign some kind of a logical explanation to it. That's human nature. We are pattern-seeking, kind of hardwired to look for patterns in the things we see and to identify things that way. Just something about human beings. That's how our brains work. Well, I understood, just because, you know, I was kind of old when I started being a cop anyway, so I had some experience under my belt, but I understood that an eyewitness is not always your best source of information. I mean, yes, valid things have come out of eyewitnesses, and some eyewitnesses are great. Some eyewitnesses are super detail oriented and really attentive and can really give you a really good paint a picture for you of exactly what they saw. But they are the exception to the rule. Most eyewitnesses are, you know, just kind of average, middle of the road type of witnesses that could be right, they could be wrong, you know. So it depends on whether or not they're just telling you what they saw, or whether they're trying to ascribe a certain conclusion to what they saw based on what they think what they saw was, if you see the difference there. So, you know, I just don't buy it. If there were, it would be like any other animal. I mean, we've got bears. We know bears exist because we've got bear remains. Every once in a while you see a dead bear. I've seen a couple of dead bears. You see other animals dead. I've seen all kinds of other animals dead because they die and they lay there. You know, it's not like they're going to get up and run away. They're pretty easy to find, you know. So if there were some kind of giant apes living in our forests and walking up in people's backyards and doing all these things that they attribute to giant apes, like knocking on trees and all that, you would think if they're in the area that much, that they're that familiar and that comfortable with it, they would live and die there, and then you would find some remains or some sign, some physical manifestation of evidence that they're there. I mean, you just don't. There is none. So, but in every one of these areas, you do find bears, and that's the common denominator. So I think what people are thinking are Yetis or Sasquatch or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, there's bears, you know, pretty much plain and simple. That's the creature we have on this continent that fits that description. It's a bear. And, you know, people can say what they want. Oh, this damn thing. Okay, my battery just died. But anyway, I was saying, I think that what people are mistaken for Sasquatches are bears. Because bears are in every single location where people have claimed to see a Sasquatch. There are bears. So we know this. They're proven. It's an undisputed fact that in each one of these areas, bears already exist. So, you know, that's And then I saw something the other day that I thought was really interesting. You know, the old Patterson Bigfoot film, one from the, was it 1970 something? I think it was Robert Patterson maybe, and his friend were out in the California wilderness, and they caught on film what they claimed was a Bigfoot ape walking along a creek bed. And people have looked at that film now for decades, trying to figure it out, trying to sort it out, decide what it is. And I've seen various specials on this because I'm interested in this stuff. I mean, if there was something out there, I'd like to know it, you know. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm saying there's no evidence that they exist here. So nobody's ever found any evidence. They could. I mean, anything could be, because they're, you know, they find new species all the time of stuff. But something that big, you know, I would expect it to be a little more, you know, a little more evidence around to support it. But they did some digital cleanup, or AI, that's what they used. They used AI to clean up the video, and you can tell by looking at the video, after all these decades and all the speculation and all the claims made about this Patterson video, you can tell it's a guy in an ape suit. I mean, it's just blatantly obvious. So I don't know, you know. And what did they do to it to make it look that way? I don't know. I don't know what process they went through or what they did. But they cleaned it up, and then you could just clearly see it's a guy in an ape suit. It's not even convincing. The way it's walking and everything, it's just like a human. It's just really kind of funny. So, you know, it was a hoax, which we've pretty much known for quite a while. Or people have accepted the idea that it was a hoax. Well, I should say some people have. Some people have sworn up and down that it's the real thing, and, you know, it's a real live Sasquatch on videotape. I think it was actually one videotape. It was a movie. It was was it 8mm movie or something? But, you know, but look that up if you're interested in that. They did. I think it was an AI remastering or something, but you can just tell it's a big fake, you know. But it looked fake to me anyway. It looked to me like a guy in a gorilla suit just walking along, or kind of a, you know, Sasquatch suit or whatever. And I'm not saying that the people who think they've seen them are lying at all. I'm not saying that at all, because people believe things that they see. You know, well, I saw that. I believe it because I saw it. Well, the problem in that is when they attribute some other kind of interpretation to what they see other than what it actually might be. But they're convinced of it because that's what their mind is telling them it is. You know, this is what I saw. That has to be what that is, because it was doing this, it was doing that. You know, and they don't get, historically speaking, people who've had these sightings don't really get a great look at it, you know. seems like there's always, something that keeps them from getting a really good look at it. Like it was dark, or it's raining, or it was in the trees, and it was moving, and it's just like there's always some reason they don't get a really good look at whatever it is, but then they ascribe it to being this whatever thing they think it is. So I don't know. I'm not buying it. Sorry. And I don't really know what to think about the whole UFO thing either. Because, definitely there have been things in the sky that people do not know what they are. And, not just, everyday people misinterpreting stuff that they see, because that happens too, some of it. But, good, credible, knowledgeable witnesses who should know what they're seeing in the sky, pilots, guys like that, have seen things that they couldn't explain. So it's kind of interesting, the whole concept of it, because there are things that are unidentified in the sky, but they could be anything. There's no proof that anything they're seeing is anything extraterrestrial. And there's no proof that it's not. It's a non-provable issue because there's no solid evidence that anybody can analyze. You know what I mean? So the jury's out on that one for me. I reserve judgment for the day when we actually get some actual evidence, something tangible. But we have tangible proof on a lot of the stuff that is seen as far as supposed Bigfoots. That mostly because of these being in bear areas, bear habitats. To me that's kind of a no-brainer. But there are people who would tell me, hey, I know what I saw, and it wasn't a bear, it was an ape. So what do you say to those people? Well, I'd say, I don't know what you saw, I wasn't there, and I'm not going to say that you didn't, but where's the evidence? Where's any physical evidence that this creature exists? And then they'll say, well, maybe it's not a real physical creature. Maybe it's a dimensional creature, interdimensional creature. And I'm like, okay, now you're talking some totally other thing that I can't even argue that, because what do you say to that? How can you be interdimensional? We don't even understand that. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I'm saying, how would we even understand it with level of understanding of physics and science that we have right now? That doesn't even sound right. It just doesn't sound very plausible. So how does something become interdimensional? Are there like stargates or something all over this planet? These things are popping through and popping back out. And if that's true, why don't we know about it? Why aren't we running in and out of them? There's too many ifs on that whole thing for me to take it very seriously as a suggested theory, because it's kind of nonsensical based on what we know about physics and the world right now as it is. It's not to say that these people are nuts. They think they see this, and they'll fight you to the death on it because that's what they believe. And I'm not going to call them liars. I'm not going to do that, because I don't know everything, and maybe these things do exist, but what I'm saying is there's no evidence that they exist. There's no physical evidence, nothing that we can pick up and analyze and say, okay, this is the femur from a giant bipedal ape. There's none of that. Or this is the hair from a North American bipedal ape. There's just nothing like that. So I don't know. just one of those deals, people who believe it, like people who believe in religion. It's the same kind of a belief system. They just believe that it is, and they hold that belief, very dearly. That's what they believe. And I'm not knocking that at all. I don't want you to get the wrong idea about that, because I don't think these people are crazy, and I don't think they're liars, but I can't explain what they're seeing, and they can't explain it either. Scientifically, there's no explanation, so who knows? It's very odd. It's very, very odd. But there are a lot of things we're finding, out now that we didn't know 100 years ago. And so maybe one day we'll find the truth. There's got to be a kernel of truth to the story. I mean, whether it turns out that it's been bears all along, which I kind of think so, but I can't prove that either. But there's more evidence to support that than there is to support, the whole idea of a great North American ape. But, wasn't it somewhere in Africa, in some valley someplace, there was some kind of it was almost like a Gigantopithecus type ape or something that somebody found, like within the last century, I think. Still existing, still alive or something. Some kind of deal like that. There was some situation, I don't know if that was it exactly, but some kind of deal like that. So, the world, as much of the world as is under observation right now, from satellites and all of this, there's just not, there are still probably some mysteries left to discover, but I don't know. That's a hard one to buy for me, that we could be missing something that big when all of the other big animals we're well aware of. We're very well aware of bears, elk, moose, deer, all the bigger critters, cougars, the American bison. We're very well aware of all of these creatures that are in the natural environment in North America. And I don't know how we could miss something that big, especially as populated as the country is these days, because it's, we don't have much frontier left. All of the wilderness is kind of being, there are so many people now. There's not much wilderness left. So where are these things hiding? If they're there, where are they hiding? So, and I admit, I'd spent some time watching, all the Bigfoot shows on TV, looking for Bigfoot and all that. I was over in Atoka one day. This has been about 12, 15 years ago, or 13 years ago maybe. Somewhere between 10 and 12 maybe. But I was over in Atoka. I was in Antlers, actually. I was in Antlers, and I stopped for diesel, and I was on my way to Hot Springs, I'm pretty sure, with a little load of oil field stuff. And I was sitting there fueling up, and here comes the Bigfoot hunters search vehicle with all its, had all the wrap around it with the Bigfoot logo, or hunting Bigfoot, or whatever it was, whatever that show was. So they were over there filming that show at the time. And I was kind of laughing to myself, because I had driven through there countless times, day and night, and never seen any weird thing like that. Just never. But there are bears over there. So I don't know. I thought that was funny. But I've watched their shows, and I get a lot of it, for the dramatic effect, but they never show you anything substantial. They make a lot of claims, and they give you a lot of, witness testimonies, things like that, but they don't show you anything that's evidentiary, no physical evidence whatsoever. And then they ham it up and go out and knock on trees and howl and shit, And I guarantee you, if I go out in my yard right now and howl, in the evening, I can get a coyote to howl back at me, and that's probably a lot of what they're hearing, that they're trying to attribute as Sasquatch howling back, because coyotes will howl back at you. And we've been howling at coyotes since I was a kid. They're famous for howling back. But I've never heard an ape howl or anything. That just doesn't make any sense to me, so I don't know. Not to be controversial, but I think I'd like to have a little bit more empirical proof before I decide something does or doesn't exist. So I'm not going to say they don't exist. I'm just going to say I've never seen any actual proof that they do exist. So, for what it's worth, which is about, I think, $5.24 if you count that as your opinion is about equivalent to a cup of coffee these days. Used to be your opinion and 10 cents would get you a cup of coffee. Now it's up to your opinion and $5 and change will get you a cup of coffee. So, yeah, that's kind of how that is. Might have been Perkins where I saw that cheap fuel at. We'll go down here and see anyway. Poor GPS is so mad at me. It wants me to cross and get over onto I-35 so bad. Or to cross I-35 anyway. It can't figure out why I won't do it. It keeps, every chance it gets, it tries to get me to go that way. Man, it's getting chilly. It's cooling off out here. I guess it is at 65 degrees here. It was 70 degrees up in Kansas last time I actually paid any attention to it. I think up around, where was I? Winfield, maybe? Somewhere up in there. Get over here, guy. Sorry, but I'm not going to crowd these people down here. Litter crew ahead. Well, he was very thrilled with me for getting over in front of him. He's wanting to run a lot faster than the speed limit. I kind of cramped his style, but I'd rather slow him down than crowd human beings standing on the side of the road. You know what I mean? I really don't like driving very close past people who are standing out. People are just about as unpredictable as deer. I mean, they do stupid shit without thinking. We all do. Okay, about 4 more miles down here to Highway 33, and then we'll cut east again a little bit, like a mile and a half is all. But this will avoid all of Oklahoma City traffic. Oklahoma City, Norman, all of that. We'll just avoid it all. I could avoid it all by going on the other side of I-35 too, then I've got to go clear over to 81. And I don't want to do that up here because 81's in such crappy shape up on the north end. So I'd rather take this road down, which is why. But we're getting into the rain again now. Nothing like rain. I'm nervous about rain with this truck because the big breakdown I had was because of rain, because of moisture getting into the diesel exhaust fluid module and corrupting it, and then I had like 99 miles and it shut me down. So I don't want that to happen again, and I'm 145 miles from home, so I'm nervous about running in the rain in this truck now. Once bitten, twice shy, I'll tell you, it's true. And I've strongly considered, if it happens again, I'm not going to have it repaired. I'm going to delete that damn thing and just take my chances with DOT, because I'm not going to have, a $1,500 repair once a year or whatever on this thing when I can cure that for about the same money permanently. So I didn't have any choice last time. I was too far from home. It was on a weekend, and they could get the part and get me in and get it done on that next business day, but I had to sit in a motel room for 4 days while they were busy trying to fix it. I do not want to go through that ever again. So we've kind of tentatively got a plan for if that happens again with this truck. Bill will bring the big trailer with the Ford, and we'll haul this one back home and then have it deleted instead of having it repaired. But to do that, we've got to have the Ford running. So I'm nervous because right now the Ford's iffy because of that vibration in the driveline. So we've got to figure that out. It's got to be fixed. Well, that guy's in rough shape. Somebody T-boned him. So I'm hoping I don't have any more breakdowns with this, because if that happened, I would have to, I'm not sure what the logistics would be of that. Because, if I have a trailer on and it happens, then we got a problem. I'd probably have to call my broker and see if he had somebody with a truck who could come get it. Because I can't leave my work truck sitting on the side of the road. Somebody will vandalize it or, tear it up or steal it. I'm not gonna do that. So somebody would have to come get the trailer, and then Bill would have to come get me with the other trailer. It would just be a big pain in the ass. But you got to think about these things and have a plan for if it happens, because last time it happened, we had no idea. We had no plan. We didn't know. We just didn't know. It was a complete unknown. Well, now we know. So, yeah, now we know. Not going to go through that again. In fact, if we could get the Ford just right to where I can run it a while and make the money to do it, I would take this in and have it deleted anyway before we have an event like that, so I don't have that happen again. Man, that guy, he got T-boned hard, it looks like. Knocked his doors all cattywampus. Either that or he jackknifed with the trailer and the trailer came around and caved in his doors. That could be, because that happened to me. I know how that looks. That looks similar. But that's the other option, is to just delete the damn thing before it has a chance to go out again. And then we can take that part and, sell it. It's an expensive part. And recoup some of our money for deleting it. And, whether or not the DOT would approve of that, I don't know. But the DOT doesn't have to, they don't have to pay my repair bills either, so, or sit on the side of the road broke down with me when I break down on the side of the road because the damn thing goes out. So this is a problem when you get these onboard computers in these vehicles and they have so much control over them, because they will shut you down on the side of the road with very little warning. And if you're traveling like I do, 100 miles, I'm always 100 miles from home, or usually a lot more than that. So 100 miles doesn't really even get me to safe harbor. And that's all the mileage they give you when you have that kind of a failure. It starts counting down from 100 and then you're screwed. So, it's not a good situation. And it's it's built into the computer. That's how they have it designed. So that you are forced to take it to a Dodge dealer to have the repair work done so they can reset the codes. And it's something you can't reset the code and get more miles out of it. It has to be done. So, or it has to be deleted. So, yeah. So I'd rather delete it and delete that whole part of the system that has that warning, which I think you have to go and do that too, because the guy at the Dodge house, I was talking to him about deleting it. He said, yeah, he says, I've seen it where people have paid to have it deleted and then they still had this message come up and it still shut them down. I'm like, why would it do that? And he says, it's something in the computer. So you'd have to figure out what all you have to delete. So somebody didn't delete the whole shooting match or whatever it is. So I kind of hold a grudge against this truck because of that, and I don't trust it in the rain. And of course I've been in the rain, I'll be in the rain all summer because it rains all summer, and so but I don't trust it, and it makes me nervous. I don't like running it in the rain. So I'll be really glad when I get less than 100 miles from home, which will happen here in about 40 minutes. Then at least if it happens after that point, I'll be able to get it home and take this on down with the other truck. Even if the other truck's got a vibration to it, I can probably take this down and get it delivered, But yeah, it's frustrating to me because, my Ford's been broke down now since the 7th of March, and it's already May. It's into May, and we still haven't got it all resolved. It's been running and not running, running and not running, running, but it's got a vibration, not running, whatever. But I can't be running it and tearing it up, by running it with this vibration that we can't seem to isolate. Because that was probably what caused the whole catastrophic failure to begin with the U-joints. So, now we've got to get more parts, and for some reason Bill hasn't got them ordered, so I don't know if he's still looking for them. It might be a case that he's been looking and can't find them. So it's like, oh man, this is getting to be more fun. But I'm still not sorry I got that truck, and I still want to put it back on the road and run it. So, just a matter of getting it done. Oh. Frustrating. But maybe he'll do that tomorrow. Maybe he can check out the parts guy over in Walters. 'Cause there's a junkyard over there. He successfully hunted down some parts before that fit that. So the guy might have something right there that we can use and just put reused parts on it. They don't have to be new parts as long as they're in good condition, you know. I mean, who cares? The parts that are on it are 25 years old, so what's the difference? You know, it's just something in there is not right. And that's what we're going to have to do. So I think he was going to crawl up under there and do some measurements or something and then call the guy. So he may have that done by the time I get home. Wouldn't surprise me. But it's raining out too. You know, crappy weather. I don't know if he's going to go crawl under the truck in the rain. I wouldn't. I don't know. You know, it's always some damn thing. Probably what we ought to do is pull the drive shaft off of that and the yoke and just take them out and look at them and then get all the measurements and then go down there and see what the guy's got. It's not that far, you know. But anyway, if that cures the problem with it, I'll be back in business and I can go back to work in my normal truck, which I really, really want to do. I'm sick of driving this behemoth. There are several things about this truck that are less advantageous to me than the Ford. And one of the most is, well, that having to run diesel exhaust fluid in it and then having to worry about it breaking down in the rain as it rains harder. Oh my gosh. So that and the fact that this is so much longer of a wheelbase that makes turning in and out of my driveway more difficult, and it shortens the length of trailer I can manage to get up the driveway safely when I get to the house. Now I can get this one up there, I know I can, because I've pulled trailers this length up in there before, but so it's not an issue today, but some days it is an issue. So I'll be glad to get back in my Ford. Super glad. Just want to do it. I'm thinking that cheap fuel must be at Shawnee, because I haven't seen it up in here, and this is still pretty high up here. 354. That's not as high, but I mean, that was like really super cheap. And I don't have to buy fuel, so I'm not going to buy it. I can buy it for $3.47 in Duncan. If nothing else, I can do that. And it's in a spot where I can get in there with this trailer on. This isn't that big of a trailer, so it's not going to hinder me too much. You know, the rain's good and the rain's bad. It depends on what you want to do and what the effect is. It's bad when you're running in it on the highway. It sucks. Makes visibility worse, makes everything more dangerous, adds the potential for hydroplaning and for sliding off the road if you're traveling too fast or carelessly or whatever. Or if you're just unlucky and you hit a bad spot. But it's good if you're wanting to go metal detecting, so I'm torn, you know. I'll be okay once I get home. Ooh, there's somebody down in the ditch. Dang. That's what I mean. They slid off right there. They slid the hell off in that hole. Wow. Did you see that? That kind of sucked. They're going to have fun dragging that up out of there. This is why I'm running slow and taking it easy. This is a skinny, twisty road. And I don't want to do that. Don't even want to do that. So I am applying moderation to my driving. 'Cause Okay, well, I think the view is getting to be pretty crappy for you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and stop for now, and I'll resume probably tomorrow morning when I leave out for Texas with this trailer. So y'all stay inside and stay dry. I'm going to try and do the same thing. Once I get home, I'm going to stay in and stay dry. And I will see you in the morning. Thanks for riding along.